We're seeing a change in heart of the administration in Mexico. Lopez Obrador, for the first couple of years of his presidency, followed what he called hugs, not drugs. The idea that if we don't bother the cartels, they'll just be nice. Yeah, so that didn't work out. And now he's taken a much more direct approach. And since most of the security services at the local level have been infiltrated by the cartels, he's tapped the military to do it. So the military is now taking active steps against the cartels. And if you are in a cartel, that means you need heavier weaponry to fight back. And that's why the 50 cals and things like them are starting to pop up a lot more.
And so what is the Mexican strategy in terms of utilizing the military and dealing with the cartels? What are they trying to do?
I would argue that the AMLO administration isn't to the point yet that they have a strategy, but they realize that the murder rate has reached the point that hugs, not drugs is no longer a viable option. And so they're trying to militarize the equation in the hopes that the Mexican military is more capable than this or that cartel. You can kind of break the cartel world into three groups. You've got Jalisco New Generation, the hyper-violent ones. You've got the Los Chapitos and the associated groups that are what's left of Sinaloa. They're the most capable ones for smuggling drugs. That's where the money is. And so that is where AMLO seems to be focusing his efforts. And then you've got what's left of the Zetas and the Gulf cartels, which is a very Twilight 2000 dog-eat-dog world out in eastern Mexico, which everyone's just kind of ignoring because it's not strategic. It's just violent. But it appears, and I don't want to oversell this because AMLO's clearly making this up as he goes, it appears that they think if they can put a pinch in the income, that maybe they can turn Sinaloa into the next Zetas and just break it apart. I don't think that's a very good plan, but it's better than what they've been doing for the last 2.5 years.
And what's worst case scenario with Mexico?
Worst case scenario would be if Jalisco New Generation penetrates north of the border and it changes our political discussion to be very anti-Mexico. One of the great achievements, in my opinion, of the Trump administration is convincing America's hard right that Mexicans are part of the family and taking one of the biggest looming racial issues in the United States and just dissolving it. If Americans start to think of Mexicans as drug runners again, regardless of why, that damages our most productive trading relationship and our most brilliant opportunity for our future right out of the gate.
But what is the worst case scenario in terms of the cartels overwhelming the Mexican military? Because it does seem they have.
You're asking all the fun, cheery questions.
Yeah. Well, that's why you're here, bro. Yeah. I'm here to get freaked out.
Our advantage with Mexico so far is because they haven't had to fight a war in a long time, that the military is not particularly competent, but it's still armed. And so when you bring it into the system, they hit with a punch that compared to the normal local security services is really impressive. But every time a armed group of the state has been brought into the fight, the cartels have found a way to corrupt it. And if you do that to the military, we could have a very real problem here. Think Chicago at the height of Al Capone, but on a national scale.
Jesus Christ.
We're not there yet, but that would be the concern.
Now, how much effort is the United States putting to mitigate this? And how much policy is directed towards trying to steer this in the right direction?
This is one of those where being a border country is a negative because, we may be great trading partners and to a degree friends and integrated economically and demographically, but we're always going to be titchy about the other one telling us what to do. Trump and AMLO got along great because Trump really never asked anything of AMLO. He said, as long as you take steps to limit Central American immigration into the United States, I'm going to be hands-off on everything else. And so relations were pretty warm. Biden comes in and takes a much more traditional American approach. So it's about immigration, it's about drugs, it's about rule of law, it's about investment. And AMLO is like a really, really angry Trump. And he sees this all as unnecessary challenges to him personally. So the relationship between between Biden and AMLO is really poor. And in that sort of environment, it's been very, very difficult for anyone in the U.S. bureaucracy to have a productive relationship with anyone south of the border. So most drug extraditions have stopped, most law enforcement cooperation has stopped, most intelligence sharing has stopped.
So we're just leaving that and watching it
Well,
play
because
out.
the Mexicans shut the door on us. Yeah. Well, AMLO specifically. I don't want to put credit for that anywhere but on him.
What's the best case scenario?
Well, there's term limits in Mexico. AMLO will be gone in a year and a half. So we will get a new person. Now, who will that person be? Way too soon to know. But you can only serve for 5 years as president of Mexico.
That's it?
Yeah. So they've got a very, very bad one right now. We'll see who's next.
Oh, Jesus. And that's right there.
Yep.
So the whole world's fucked.
Yeah, that's a bit of an overstatement, but we've got some challenges.
So, but it's making me more optimistic about America.